Hello ladies, gentlemen, and those that don't identify themselves in that binary. I'm the Ski, and welcome to my Pokémon Shield Nuzlocke. So, after the disappointment of losing a Pokémon, we had to move on and fight some battles as we're progressing on to the next gym. Unfortunately, my capture card didn't pick up the volume from the game, so you're going to have some generic Pokémon background music rather than the specific music of this part of the game. Very sorry for that. Fighting this Applin, pretty okay because we had bug-type moves against a grass-type Pokemon. Job done. Molder can show his worth yet again. Big fan of Molder. Going to be a Pokemon that we use for a long time. Got to fight a Pokemon breeder, where we sent out Mrs. Snowy first. Tried to stop her taking damage through the double team strategy. Usually this is quite good, but it turns out this Minccino is just scary. It was more than capable of just beating up Mrs. Snowy, despite how well we were evading. But looking at the Pokemon Breeders team, there was going to be another Pokemon, so I figured it was a good idea to keep Mrs. Snowy out, even if it was going to take a lot of damage. Losing the attack from the Tickles meant Powder Snow became our first and best option, and considered, do I want to change Pokemon to try out number 5? And thought, yeah, at this point another critical hit might take out Mrs. Snowy, and then we're down we're down an experienced Pokemon. So put in number 5 to find out how good it would be. As it turns out, Draining Kiss, fantastic move, kept number 5 in the fight and healing. It's one of the things I like in a Nuzlocke, is a move that heals me and does damage. So Steenie came in, and at this point, why not Draining Kiss? Take the damage, heal back up, repeat. Overall, it shows that number 5 might actually be a useful Pokemon. I'd never used a Spritzy before. I've never used its evolved form of Aromatisse before, in fact. So it's always nice in a Nuzlocke to have these sorts of things. And the healing yourself while attacking, excellent way of getting used to the Pokemon and levelling up all in the same go. That means we don't need to make trips back to the Pokemon Center every 2 minutes, which is the usual strategy. Well, the usual strategy I use on a Nuzlocke. Make sure my Pokemon are at peak condition where possible. Had to think about whether to keep Home Claws, but no, Korax learnt Taunt. Taunt is just useful, especially on a bulky defensive Pokemon like Korax, because we can stop any setups, and the game doesn't use much in the way of setup, but later on it does, so having Taunt available and as an option that I'm always thinking about is always a good idea. Got to fight a Stuffle with Spritzy, which was great because the Draining Kiss does extra damage and we're going to keep ourselves topped up with healing, though Draining Kiss is low on PP. I think with just 10 we do have to nip back to the Pokemon Center quite a bit. But as you'd be able to see here, Stuffle was doing a fair amount of damage with its tackles, a bit more than it normally would, but the Draining Kiss bringing us back up to relatively good health. No complaints there. Now, Ralts is a Pokemon that I like, with its 2 final forms, Gardevoir and Gallade, both useful. I've used them both in previous games, I've used them both in competitive matches as well, but I'm always aware that it's quite an important Pokemon to deal with, as it's going to be a Draining Kiss versus Draining Kiss, but I didn't quite realise how much damage we'd be doing against it, because Ralts itself apparently not as strong as I'd remembered. So that kept number 5 up to full health at the end of the battle, which is always good. Rupert gets to level 20 and learns Strength, which will increase its damage output considerably. Still no fighting type moves, they do take a while to come on the Stuffle Beware evolutionary line. Finally, Cutiefly, which is a fairy type, and we had Echoed Voice. We'd actually run out of our fairy type move anyway, but we've got Echoed Voice and we've got Attract, so why not give it a go? Attract gives a chance not to be hit, which is always good in any game, let alone a Nuzlocke. And Echoed Voice to do the damage to just beat up this Cutiefly. And you can see just getting used to how we're going to be fighting using number 5. Echoed Voice, interestingly, increases in damage if it's used in succession, so starts off quite low but gets more powerful each time, which is quite useful if you're going into a battle, like some gym battles as you saw previously, with Barkley using the same move in the gym battle for the grass type gym. Using Echoed Voice is a really nice way of just increasing power, and actually having quite a powerful move that starts off not that powerful, but has quite a high PP as well, so you can just keep going with it. So yeah, we progress on. At the bridge, we came across someone being bullied by Team Yell, so we stepped in to fight them. Being challenged by this Team Yell grunt, it originally sends out a Zigzagoon. And this is the Galar variant Zigzagoon with dark typing, which is quite a fun little Pokemon. And it's the Zigzagoon that gets the 3rd evolution in the end, Obstagoon, which I'm a big fan of. I like the way it looks, I like the way they've played around with it. And it sort of adds, I think, to Zigzagoon in general. We started with Rupert because Rupert isn't weak to dark type moves in case it has any, and we could test out its new strength move, and it appears to do the business for us. Got some level ups there, Mrs. Snowy and Mulder, which is always nice. And Mrs. Snowy can learn Protect. Protect is a great move in most situations. You want to have it as an option, but sticking Protect in a single player game isn't always the best idea. Because we're looking and saw that Astonish, not an amazing move, but it is a ghost type move, and otherwise we only have ice type attacks, and well, ice isn't necessarily the best attacking move. And Powder Snow and Ice Shard do the same thing, but a physical and special, and our physical and special aren't massively different, 28 to 27. And Astonish, I mean, a 30 power ghost type move, it's still a ghost type move. So it's actually an agonising decision, because we could lose Double Team, but unfortunately all our moves are pretty good for what we might want to use them for. We get a Thievul sent out, Thievul being the evolution of Nickit that we saw earlier. So Rupert there with strength, coming to do the business, especially as Thievul tries the tail whip. So we can see how Rupert does in combat. And pretty decent damage. Thievul used Beat Up. Beat Up's an interesting move, but at this point it wasn't the right choice for Team Yell Grunt. It's quite nice that the game isn't built to make the optimum move at all times, although it could be a bit harder if the game had been designed to cause a bit more of a challenge like that, if the game could see that a move wasn't at its most powerful to choose a different one. But nevertheless, we defeat Team Yell Grunt, ready to speak to the person that they were bullying. And there you go, there's a lesson. In the Pokemon world, don't bully people, someone will come and beat you up with their Pokemon. Yes, Team Yell really want this guy's bike, so the second Team Yell Grunt comes to fight us. This time, Sableye. And here, I made an error, but I was quite happy with that error, because it reminded me why I need to pay closer attention. So I use Strength, but Sableye is immune to normal type moves. I should have remembered that, shouldn't have made that decision, but I did. But thankfully Rupert wasn't punished too harshly. Gave me a chance to use Brutal Swing and see that it's not doing much damage at all, looks like about a fifth. And then of course Disable goes off, taking away our best move, which means Rupert needs to come out and need to put in Pokemon that can really do the damage. I decided that the best Pokemon for that was Mrs. Snowy. As I said before, Mrs. Snowy didn't take Protect, but does have a nice array of moves that can do a bit of damage. In this case, we've got Astonish, which we could have lost for Protect, we didn't, so we can have a Ghost type attack, and Ghost type moves do a bit of Ghost type damage. And immediately, it's disabled, so Mrs. Snowy is left with Powder Snow and Ice Shard, so we go with Powder Snow in the hope of freezing it or just doing a lot of damage, and we do a fair bit, looks like a fifth, and Scratch isn't doing enough damage to really cause us much concern, so it's Powder Snow again, trying to get that freeze off, but if it doesn't, I'm not particularly worried. Take an Astonish, but as we know, Astonish isn't a very powerful move, so Mrs. Snowy was easily going to survive. And the Sableye got one more scratch off, not a problem for us. We knew that we'd be able to just take it out in the end. It's a good fight to have because it reminded me that sometimes you do just need a powerful attack, a powerful thing to take out the opponent's Pokemon, and that you need to remember type matchups, especially those for immunities, because if it had been the wrong Pokemon that came back with a more powerful move, could have lost Rupert over a silly error. Still, we beat up Team Yell. Team Yell do their customary running away, and the person being bullied is going to tell us all about the new bike that they've come up with, where Rotom can go into the bike's motor and keep it going and make you a lot faster. And then giving us a free bike to test out the new idea with the Rotom bike. So now we can cycle around, speeding ourselves up as we go everywhere. So on our new Rotom bike, we started crossing the bridge, chatting to people, and picking up some of the items that you can see sparkling on the ground. You get a nice view of the wide area over towards Hammerlock. It's quite a nice bit of the wild area over there. We've not been able to go there yet. It's too high a level for us really. But we see Hop on the bridge, and he tells us if we come any closer, we're going to have a battle. I'm not that afraid of Hop. My Pokemon are all pretty good, pretty healed up. So, what order do I want to put them in? Got Mrs. Snowy at the front of the party, always a fan of Mrs. Snowy, and if Hop starts with his Corviknight, then Mrs. Snowy is the perfect counter. Barkley will be pretty good in general, as we know that Hop has a Scorbunny, or the Scorbunny evolution, Raboot, I believe. We both got a grass badge, so we go for the battle. First thing Hop goes with, as always, is the Wooloo. My plan here was to double team against the Wooloo because the Wooloo will try Defense Curl and Cotton Guard and so on. And it might take us a bit of time to take it out, but by that point we should have our double team up, so that we should be relatively safe. I thought that was a pretty safe and solid plan for the battle. So started off, as you see, with a double team. There's Mrs. Snowy shivering away. And opposite the Defense Curl, which is perfect because Mrs. Snowy has Powder Snow available, which will ignore the defense boost because it's a special attack, goes against a special defense. So the second of our double teams. Always good. And then double kick, we avoid. So this time, unlike the previous battle with the Pokemon Breeder, double team's doing its job. Third double team goes off. Our evasiveness has increased considerably. And then we take a Growl, but again, misses us because we're pretty good at evading things. I don't know how one evades a Growl, but nevertheless, we did, to get our fourth double team off. Double kick comes in, and we avoid it. This is what the strategy is all about. Fifth double team builds us right up, evasiveness through the roof. Wooloo tries a double kick, and again, we avoid. Then we get the sixth double team, the maximum number of double teams you can get off on a single Pokemon before it becomes ineffective. So now we've got a lot more evasiveness going on, and we can turn to just defeating the Wooloo. So step 1, Powder Snow. About 3rd hit points, it Defense Curls, great, we can keep Powder Snowing. Second Powder Snow, again about 1/3, one more should do it. We take a Growl this time, so we know that we can't really do as much damage with our Astonish or Ice Shard, so we'll just use the Powder Snow. That takes out the Wooloo. Mrs. Snowy is down on the attack but hasn't taken any damage, ready to face whatever comes out, and it's Raboot. Again, the aesthetic on this starter is great, it looks very much like a teenage evolution. The Raboot comes in and we avoid the double kick, which is excellent for us, and Powder Snow won't do a lot of damage, and doesn't. That's where I realised the problem with this strategy. Ice type attacks are not going to do much damage, and we've already taken a growl. It's not as if Reboot's going to do much damage to us, but even then, the fact that it's super effective, we could come in range of a stray critical hit and lose. So all that work getting the double teams up for Mrs. Snowy is lost, as we have to swap into Barkley. Barkley comes in because fire won't do much damage to him at all. The Intimidate will lower any double kick type attacks. And we should be able to take out Raboot relatively safely, although that round does a fair amount of damage. Start with Bite from Barkley, because Bite can cause the target to flinch, but Raboot is faster than Barkley is. The Bite does about a quarter hit points damage. That's a 4-hit KO, so we try for the second Bite, but then in comes the Growl, dropping Bite's effectiveness. And we can see that with the attack that went in on Reboot, didn't quite get it down to half hit points. And Barkley on itself about half hits. We decided that it may well be Rupert's turn, because Rupert's got the ability Klutz, so won't be taking extra damage from fire, even if that ability doesn't do anything for us. So Growl comes in again, which again on Rupert, who's a physical attacker, it's not the best thing for us. But we've got payback. Now, knowing how fast Reboot is, we take some damage from the double kick. Super effective, of course, because normal fighting on Stuffle. So now we've got payback. And payback does a reasonable amount of damage, but after the Growl, not a great amount. Still, we're above half hits. Even if we take a crit on the double kick, it shouldn't knock us out, which would be awful because losing Rupert would really hurt the party. So we get the payback in. Remember, payback does double damage when you attack second, and that crits and takes out Reboot, leaving us with just the Corvusquire to go. Moulder gets a level up, number 5 gets a level up, and Rupert gets a level up, so that was a pretty good battle against the Reboot. We don't get any new moves out of that, so now in comes Hop's final Pokemon, and we can choose what we want to do against it. Looking at Rupert's hit points at the moment, Corvusquire probably going to take it out, so we need to swap out. And what can we do to take out Corvusquire? Well, the original plan was Mrs. Snowy, so in comes Mrs. Snowy once more. The other thing to remember with Corvusquire against Rupert is that bird types are good against fighting types, so we just needed to get Rupert out of there. So we go with Ice Shard to be able to get the attack in before the Corvusquire does anything, in case it had something that will drop our attack or special attack. And we didn't quite do 50% damage, but a crit or a higher damage roll might well do it. So we just have to take a Fury attack. Small hit points of damage, hit 3 times, we should be safe for another 1, probably 2 hits. If the Ice Shard can take it into 1 hit KO range, which as you can see Corvusquire's down into the red, we can definitely knock it out if we use our priority Ice Shard move again, taking out Corvusquire, except in comes the potion, putting Corvusquire back to full and resetting the battle. Just because I can't use items in battle doesn't mean Hop's bound by the same limitations. I believe there are some ROM hacks which allow the rules that you put on the player to be put on the AI, but this game is being played on the Switch straight on the game cartridge, so nothing like that can happen here, and I had to move Mrs. Snowy out. So Corvusquire versus Corvusquire. Our Corvusquire is higher level and undamaged, so at this point, it being a semi-mirror match in that our mirror's bigger, more like a funhouse mirror match really, we can just use our most powerful attack and just keep hitting Corvusquire until it goes down. So Korax uses Pluck, takes out the Corvusquire, Hop defeated, and we'll be able to move on, heading towards Hulbury for our second gym badge. hopefully relatively soon. At this point, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I've been the Ski. If you've enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe. And as always, I hope you have a lovely day.